Welcome back to another episode of the Empowered Plates, Empire Lives podcast. Y'all, it's your healthy habits and lifestyle coach, Jovonnie, and I help those with endometriosis and polycystic ovarian syndrome reduce chronic pain, eliminate stress, and minimize irregular or heavy periods. Y'all, we got another endometriosis journey of strength in the building episode today with Destini. But if it's your first time, welcome to the Empire Plates, Empire Lives podcast. Thanks for coming through the vibe with us. But y'all already know what time it is. Vibe with me, y'all.
Welcome to the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast.
Y'all, we are honored to have Destini Foster with us, the founder of Black Women Feel Pain Too. Black women feel pain too, though, an advocate for Black women's health and a powerful voice in the fight against endometriosis disparities. Y'all, Destini's journey from navigating painful periods in silence to becoming a champion for awareness and advocacy is a testament to the strength of self-advocacy and resilience. Y'all, today she'll share insights on why it's essential to advocate for yourself, the impact of healthcare disparities, and how to create visibility and community around endometriosis. Y'all, let's get ready for an empowering conversation that will inspire you to take charge of your health and advocate for yourself in every area of your life. Welcome to the Empire Plates, Empire Lives podcast, Destini.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. So happy to be
I'm
here.
So happy that you are here. Yo, Destini, what is one word that would sum up your journey of strength with endometriosis thus far?
You already said it, resilience.
Why resilience?
Because endometriosis every day, literally every day, but you still have to show up. You may not be able to give 100%. Some days you may be able to give 2, but even getting up and out of bed and doing what you need to do is resilience. So that is what the word I would use.
I love that. For people who don't know what endometriosis is, what would be the Destini Marie's definition of endometriosis?
So I like to explain endometriosis of basically when the lining of the uterus just grows outside of the uterus. So every month when you menstruate, you get this just extra pain because you have extra endometrial tissue, all throughout the pelvic cavity or wherever it may be found.
I love that. I love that. Why or how? Like, what are some of those signs or symptoms that I could possibly suspect? Do I have endometriosis? Is this outside of my uterine lining doing the things Destini just said it is? How do I know what's happening in there? Like, what were some of your signs or symptoms that were able to lead you into your endometriosis diagnosis?
Number one, first and foremost, is pain. So what I didn't know is that painful periods are not normal. Yeah, you can have some cramps, you can PMS, you be a little moody, you want your chocolate and your chips and your whatever else you want, but pain actually is not normal with your period. So that would be first and foremost. If you have painful periods, you need to be going to get checked out and talking about seeing what's possibly going on. And the second thing for me was I would have pain outside of my period. So my period may be over, and then a couple of days later, I'm having pain again, intense pain again. Certain activities are painful. Certain movements are painful. So pain outside of that normal, 3, 4, 5 days, however long you have your period. If you're having pain outside of that, yeah, you need to go get checked out.
I like it. Thank you so very much for sharing that. And I think so many people don't realize that there's so many different signs and symptoms of endometriosis.
Right.
And so for me, it really wasn't, there was period pain, and we normalized period pain. And you said pain during your period, but then there's also that pain that happens when your period is not even on. And you thinking like, what is wrong with me? Did I eat something wrong,
Right.
like bad or something? Like for me, I thought it was food poisoning. I'm like, what is going on? Like, why am I feeling sick? Like, why am I feeling nauseous? Why is my pain, my stomach hurting so bad? Like, anybody else sick? Like when I was eating at the same spot. But for me, it was like the painful bowel movements, Destini. And I just always thought it was the pain, like just because my period was on, that the pain of the cramps and everything was just transferring to that area of my body. And I'm like, okay, holding on to the side of the walls, like
Yeah.
breathing. And I'm like, why are these cramps like moving back here and painful too? Why is it not just in my stomach? Like, what is going on?
Mhm.
I didn't know that was one of my signs, but it was like that something was wrong. And I normalized that too. Just like, well, the pain is just moving to a different area of my body during my cycle. And there was a time where I didn't even realize the symptoms that I was having even was on my period, because I never really considered myself as having period problems. So
Right.
I didn't even associate it with my cycle, that it could have been, like you said, that lining of the uterus shedding and on the outside instead of inside. Like I wasn't even thinking my body's functions weren't functioning the way it should have been.
Right.
Like, it was
Right.
off. Like nobody said that. We didn't talk about those things,
Mhm.
The middle school teacher, now back in high school, I was talking to my kids about their pain. Like, yo, pain is not normal. Who's feeling the pain? And I think you told me that you began to have your endometriosis journey in middle school, and it was difficult and painful periods. Can you kind of share how you navigated through those earlier years as a young Destiny, and then what led you to realize that you were experiencing wasn't normal and that there was something deeper going on?
Yeah. So my period started when I was 14. No, 12. 12. I was in the 7th grade, so in middle school. And honestly, it was a bunch of ibuprofen, popping pills every 6, 8 hours as needed around the clock. That was kind of my way of coping. I didn't really take the Midol or the Pamprin or anything like that. I was just constantly popping the painkillers and just dealing with it. Because again, I thought what I was going through was normal, and everybody else goes through this too. So I didn't do anything with my endometriosis in middle school. In high school, I played sports all 4 years. And I believe it was my sophomore or junior year that I just couldn't take it anymore. I was like, something literally just has to give. It has to give. I actually remember the day specifically. It was on a weekend. My period had just started. I was in a world of pain, back and forth to the bathroom, diarrhea, feeling like I had to throw up. I was nauseous. My cramps were all over the place. And I had made the decision because what all I didn't know was you have painful periods, you get on birth control. That's all I
Mhm.
knew. So I was like, I'm going to go get on birth control. So I got on birth control my junior year of high school. That kind of mellowed things out until I got into college, and things kind of took a turn when I got into college. But things got worse when I became an adult around 20, 23, 24. Things just took a complete dip and turn for the worst. And I just knew something just has to give. Like, what is really all of this pain going on? Which led me to go talk to my gynecologist.
So how long did the birth control kind of help you with your symptoms, and what symptoms did it really help you with during that time frame when you
It
became a junior?
It definitely helped with the pain. My 2 top things are pain and fatigue. So I would be literally exhausted during my period. So it helped with the pain, it helped with the fatigue. It kind of regulated the period just a little bit because with endometriosis, we tend to cycle shorter. So not your average like 28 to 30 days. So I myself get my period about every 22 to 23 days. So every 3 weeks, essentially, I get my period. So the birth control helped regulate it. So I was kind of normal. So between the pain, the fatigue, and you regulating my symptoms, that lasted until I got off of birth control, which was in 2019. 2019, I got off of birth control.
Okay. Thank you for that. I'm glad it regulated some things and then give you some type of relief, even as like a young person in high school struggling.
Mhm.
And I don't know what sports you played, but I think that's a great part to segue into the conversation is being able to be an athlete with endometriosis, and what does that look like, and how do you handle that pain by still wanting to show up and do the things that you love, and your team might be depending on you. How did you mentally um cope with having to struggle with these painful periods in high school as a student athlete, and what tips would you give other girls, or I would just say other humans in high school that are experiencing really painful periods but are really into sports and student organizations that just take a lot of their time?
Personally, I don't think I mentally coped with it at
Mm.
all. I really don't. Again, just showing up every day and trying to do your best, was really all that I did. I showed up, I tried my best. I probably had a horrible, terrible, ugly, disgusting attitude because I was in so much pain. But I don't really think myself that I really did like mentally cope with it because in the back of my mind, or really in the front of my mind, it's like I am in pain. And I never really tried to, again, because I didn't understand what the pain was. So if I were to give advice to young athletes in school today, it would go back to the whole advocacy thing. If you think something is wrong and if something is affecting daily activity, normal activities, things that shouldn't cause too much exertion, you need to be going to just regular primary care doctor as a young athlete, as a young kid. I'm just saying, hey, this is what's going on. These are the barriers that I'm coming across, because things like that are not normal. Period pain is not normal, and period pain should not be, um it shouldn't keep you in the bed, and it shouldn't cause you not to be able to do these daily activities that you love and enjoy to do.
I love it, Destiny. Thank you. So, if you're listening to this and you are struggling to show up in life the way you want to show up because of pain in any type of way, whether it might be endometriosis or anything
Mhm.
else, make sure you go and see someone. Check with the healthcare professional, check with a naturopathic person. You want to get to the root cause of your pain,
Right.
so you can be able to enjoy the pleasures of life each and every day. So just sucking it up and saying, oh, well, this normally is what is happening to me. You don't have to live that way. So make a choice to go see
Mhm.
more answers to get to the cause of your pain. Um, and I like that you also said, Destiny, for them to make sure they tell them this is what it's causing me to not be able to do.
Right,
Sometimes people get in there and they just say, hey, I'm having a whole bunch of pain. And they don't say, I'm having so much pain, I'm unable to attend school. I'm having
right.
so much, I'm unable to participate on my, athletic team. I'm having so much pain, I'm unable to really show up in class, be awake because I'm so sleepy and tired on my period. I've had
Mhm.
students head down, just need to go to sleep. I'm in pain before, I'm tired, I can't stay up. I get it. Like, talk to those doctors, those healthcare professionals, those trusted adults, those nurses at your school, and let them know these things and say, I know this isn't normal. I've heard this wasn't normal. What could it be? What do I need to do next? And so I'm glad that you shared that for the younger Destiny in you that
Yeah.
now knows what it is that you're going through, and for us to be able to help some of those student athletes out. So you kind of told me before about like there were no conversations about your
Mhm.
kids within your family, and you had to kind of rely on your friends or girls at school or do your own research. How did you develop the confidence to advocate for yourself, and why is self advocacy so crucial for us who, especially Black women, because Black women feel pain too when it comes to dealing with endometriosis?
I think I'm still on a discovery of this whole advocacy thing. I don't know why that word is so hard for both of us
You
today.
heard it? You heard it? But we saying that's what we doing because that's why we here today, baby.
Right, right. I think I'm still on that journey because I take my privacy like to a whole greater level. I am top secret, not A1, um, secret spy agent with my information. Like that's just me. That's my life. That's just who I am. I'm not really big on putting my personal business out there. So it really was and still is a journey for me to show up and even advocate for myself sometimes, because sometimes I'll find myself in the doctors and there's still a little bit more that I want to say, but I'm still just a little bit timid to say it. So I think I'm still on this journey of advocating for myself. However, I do know that it is important. It's something that I do is I'm going to tell you what is wrong, and I'm going to tell you I know this is not normal. And a lot of the times, unfortunately, with endometriosis, us as the endo warriors know more about the disease and the condition and what it's doing. We know more than the healthcare providers because it is not talked about and it's not researched a lot. So it's important that when you go to these appointments that you're talking about, what it is that's really going on. And if you feel, I've been fortunate, I've never been dismissed or I've never felt dismissed. So I can't speak from that standpoint, but I do have the understanding and the knowledge, and I do know that Black women, majority of the times, our pain is dismissed, unheard, it's pushed to the side, it's mocked, it's made a joke of, and we're fine, you got it, whatever, going about your day. But that's not how it should be. So if you find yourself in a situation with a provider who's not listening to you or who is not treating you, nothing's working. Number one, you need to ask for them to make sure they document all of this in your medical records. So it's documented in your medical records that they're, one, denying your pain, or two, didn't believe that you had any pain. And then you need to be finding somebody else. You don't have to stick with that provider. You can fire your doctor, okay? You don't have to stick with them. You don't have to stick with them. The door is constantly revolving. People are constantly being born. Everybody's going to need every specialty. You do not have to stick with that doctor. So making sure that, number one, you're talking about what's going on and you're being truthful. And then number two, you're holding that provider accountable for your health and your health care and your treatment.
I like that. I love that you first talked about you never being dismissed. That's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing because sometimes we see that in the endometriosis community. So many times people are dismissed. So many times there's such a delay in diagnosis once you're starting to advocate for yourself and talk about the symptoms and the experiences that you're having. But I too wasn't dismissed either. And I think it's because I had a nurse practitioner who knew me, loved me, cared about me because there was already a relationship there because she was my sorority sister. And then the primary care physician over the clinic was also my sorority sister. And so being able to have a real relationship with the people that
Mhm.
are caring for you, they hear you differently, they see you differently. Needless to say that I don't think that they would have treated somebody they didn't know any different and would have still done their due diligence to help people because there are some doctors and people in healthcare that truly want you to get an answer. And it's
Right.
not just a quote unquote business. And so being able to navigate it through a system with people who care about me, told me what to say when I went to the ER, when I was in that debilitating pain, fetal position on the bathroom floor, just trying to get cool, not knowing what's happening, driving and getting in that pain. And it just hits me and you lose all power and you start to lose a little control of your car because you're like, what is going on in my body? Like this pain is
Yeah.
like, it just shocks you and just puts you in like a brief, like what is going on? And it was like, okay, you need to go to the ER, you need to get imaging. And so and then this is what I need you to tell them. You're being sent here to get imaging because of this type of pain. And it was like, they didn't have time to not listen because I came in there and told you exactly what I needed to say. And my primary care physician, my nurse practitioner told me to come in here and tell you these things because this is what they need. And that's when they saw the large cyst on my right ovary. That's when they, all the things started to happen. And
Mhm.
we start going down that journey of seeing all of the specialists and getting to that
Right.
laparoscopic surgery. And then both of us being diagnosed in 2020. I think I was March of 2020. I don't remember what month you were diagnosed in
I
2020.
was, April or May of 2020, because I remember it
Okay.
was right before my 25th birthday.
Ooh, destiny. And
Mhm.
it's like, it's mind opening because once you
Yeah.
get that diagnosis, it's like, oh, so what is that? What's going on? What is it? And you start doing that research and you
Yep.
start looking into seeing what other people have been experiencing, what has life looked like for them now that this is what's been going on in your body too, just like other people. So I
Right.
like that you're able to speak from your position and that's not being dismissed. But it was something else that you also stated. that you actually appreciated. And it was like, you can fire your doctor.
Yeah.
You can choose. There's so much choice and power in your own
Mhm.
treatment. And that's a part of the message in the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast, is that these conversations, the aim and intent is to empower you to know what it is that you that to take control of your pain and
Right.
transform it into your power, so you can have the pleasures in life that you deserve, despite any conditions or chronic conditions and symptoms you experience or have been diagnosed with. And to add on to, you can fire your doctor and find care with people who will listen to you, I'm going to also say, before you fire them, also do your due diligence to let people know what your experience was like there. Leave a review, ask to complete a survey so you can talk about those things. And then something in addition to that I've heard from another podcast guest in the UK, is to also ask them, so why are you denying this type of treatment that I asked for? Tell me again why you're pushing back and not doing, like, asking those questions so you can document it yourself, so you can take it to the next level. You don't have to just take what people say to you and keep it moving. You have the power to talk back and speak back. But I think it's how you hold the conversation and navigate it. But sometimes people can't do that as tactfully when they are in debilitating pain, and they have to push for you to understand that they're in this type of pain and they just need help, and you're supposed to be helping them. So
Right.
I like that you hit on both of those things in regards to your that experience, in regards
Yeah.
to that.
One thing that I will add, and I talk about this also on my blog, is that make sure you do your research on these doctors before you go see them. Now, I know insurance dictates everything. I work in the medical field. I hate insurance. We could have a whole nother segment on how insurance is, messing everything up. The insurance that kind of dictates some of the providers that you can see sometime. But if you have an insurance plan that allows you to pick and choose who you go and see, make sure you're doing your research before you just go and make an appointment. And that's something that I've always done between primary care and specialty doctors. I make sure I do my research to see what people are talking about and see, are they actually listening to their patients? Are we coming up with a good treatment plan? Are we following through with these treatment plans? So those are things that I like to do, is just do my research and go through the reviews on providers before I even pick up the phone and make an appointment.
And I think making sure that they have the background knowledge you want. I had a
Right.
friend that really didn't like her experience with one provider, and they were supposed to do a procedure for her. And she was just like, you know what? I didn't like the in-office
Mhm.
experience procedure. I definitely don't want to go the next step with this type of person. And so she was doing her due diligence and research to finding other people that specialized in endometriosis and had this different background knowledge and things, and not just any OBGYN or just not anybody who, could do this or do that. Like, really being particular on the expertise and skill sets that people had. Look at the reviews and then start calling and having those conversations is essential. Like, everybody, just because they got credentials doesn't necessarily mean they are for you. And you have to do your part. You have to do your research. You have to make sure that you're guiding
Mhm.
this journey because it's yours and nobody else's, despite what medical educational knowledge somebody else has. And so I
Right.
like that you brought that into in regards to, like, the reviews and everything else and research. But you're a research-based person anyway, Destiny. So you knew you was going to make sure to add on to that. Love
Yeah.
it and appreciate that, because several people have said that. And you gotta be. Like, you can't just be
Mhm.
out here winging this thing. It's your whole body. It's your existence. Like, you are too valuable to not do your due diligence and make sure that the care you receive is top notch. Like, because you still have a choice in that. You can't blame everybody and everything else on your experiences when you have some power in it. But Destiny, let's talk about mental health impact and endometriosis. So we clearly know that people with endometriosis struggle with stress. Stress exacerbates our symptoms.
Mhm.
Distress, I'm gonna say distress. Distress exacerbates our systems a lot, and our symptoms as well. So the systems of the body, our symptoms, but then we also have these feelings of depression,
Yep.
We have these feelings of anxiety because we don't know
Yep.
when a flare up is going to happen. Oh my goodness. That is anxious because you think you all good, you feeling good, and then here we go with a flare up and you out or you had plans. So let's kind of talk about the mental health aspect of endometriosis. How did you mentally deal with the acceptance of your condition, and what advice do you have for others right now that are struggling with mental health challenges due to endometriosis?
I was complete crap for about a year.
Mm.
I'm not even gonna lie. I was complete crap for about a year after my diagnosis. It was great to finally know what was causing me pain, putting a name, a condition to all the pain that I was feeling and had been feeling since the age of 12. It was finally great to finally have some answers. But when I tell you I was complete and utter, I was crap for about a year. It hit me hard because there was so many thoughts in my head. Number
Mm.
1, there's no cure for this condition. There's no cure, so it's never going away. Number 2, just thinking about my life and all the different areas that this one condition affects, because it doesn't just affect your pelvic region. Endometriosis has been found on every organ in the body. So just thinking of all the long term of endometriosis. So it took me about a year. Um, I think the biggest thing that helped me, and this is my advice for anybody who just found out that they had endometriosis, or anybody who's had endometriosis for a while, but they're still on that journey of accepting it. You have to find that support person. You have to find that community, that group. I have one girl who has endometriosis, and when I first got my diagnosis, I remember messaging her. It was like a 10 paragraph essay that I sent her, just venting and going off and trying to de-stress and get all of this off of me, of what I've been harboring, holding on to for the past year, because I knew nobody else would be able to understand me the way that she understood me, because I had already knew that she had endometriosis. She was the only person that I knew with endometriosis. So when I got my diagnosis, I was like, I don't really have anybody. And then I remembered about her. And talking to her really helped me. It helps me understand that somebody else understands me, and it also helps me know that I have somebody out here that I can talk to literally at any time of the day. It does not matter, and they are going to be there for me because they know exactly firsthand experience what I am going through. You cannot live with endometriosis and deal with it by yourself. You just literally cannot. There's too much pain around it to try and deal with it by yourself. So you have to find either that support person or that support community, that just allows you to be open and be free and be transparent and vulnerable, because there's nothing pretty about endometriosis. There's nothing pretty about it at all. Like, I can tell you about the times that I done sat on that toilet and I'm throwing up and I have diarrhea at the same time. There is nothing pretty about endometriosis. So you have to find your person, your group, your whatever it is that allows you to be transparent.
I agree. I'm gonna say just one thing because I slightly disagree about there's nothing pretty about endometriosis. This is pretty amazing that we're sitting here
This
talking about it.
this is
And if it
pretty.
wasn't for endometriosis, then Power Plays and Power Lives podcast wouldn't exist. Black women feel pain too wouldn't exist. The blog, the advocacy. So this is the way that we turn that ugly,
Ugly into
debilitating,
pretty.
nasty pain into something pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Because of us being able to transfer it into power. But I got you. The actual condition itself ain't nothing pretty about it. So painful bowel movements, like being nauseous, being sick, not knowing if it's going to be a good day or a bad day,
Mhm.
like all of that. People who have lung collapses, like you said, it's a whole body. You don't know if your lung gonna collapse and you can't even breathe, and you got to be rushed to the hospital. You don't know if something. I've had another guest that had endometriosis and brain tumor, and having to decide brain tumor or endo, like what's happening up here. Is it causing those issues and problems? So endometriosis is a full body condition. you really are trying to just figure out what's happening on the inside of your body and how to make the best decisions on the outside to even think that you're changing and shifting things to go in a better direction for yourself. I like that you talked about the fact that you just felt like crap after you got a diagnosis.
Oh,
It's good that you have
yeah.
an answer, but I just feel like crap. For me, I definitely felt overwhelmed with emotions
Mhm.
because I thought that I was doing right by my body. I wasn't the absolute healthiest. Like, I wasn't conscious of the things that I was putting on my body, putting in my body. I wasn't as conscious of how I handled relationships with other people. I didn't have boundaries. I was in a toxic relationship with someone at the time that it like all the symptoms came to life. And I think that's that distress, that stress, that distress that exacerbates symptoms to say,
Right, you're right,
you
yeah.
don't want to listen? Like all this you're trying to do on the outside to show up in all these different ways.
Yeah,
Let me sit you down. Let me humble
yeah,
you for a minute. Let me show you that you need to take care of you and not take care of all these other people first. Let me show you that you need to prioritize self-care. Let me show you that you need to prioritize self-love. Let me show you that you need boundaries. Let me let you know how it is to really show up for you. And I think once I started to put myself in different environments, distance myself from people and things that I felt were triggering and not as helpful, as I was still trying to wrap my mind around this stage 4 endometriosis, diagnosis, these 4 hours of surgery, all these pictures
mhm,
and images of what all needed to be done and what reconstruction and fallopian tubes tied here, there, appendix out all over your bowel, your rectum. It's just everywhere. Like, that took a lot. And then to have
yeah,
that call from the doctor and say, but if you want to have kids, you need to hurry up and think about what's that plan going to look like. Sir,
right,
I am now a single person. You just told me about all this stuff going on in my body, and now you want to ask me about bringing a child into this too? Like, hold up, I'm trying to still figure this out. And I know other people with endometriosis has that pressure, and it's just like,
yeah,
you bringing in the future of my legacy that could potentially be out.
right,
I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna survive. I don't even know what
r
endometriosis is, adenomyosis is. I gotta figure this out. You didn't explain that. So
right, right,
it's very overwhelming when it comes to triggering your mental health. And I remember I was happy my brother showed up to kind of help. I remember talking to my mom and just feeling kind of like overwhelmed about it. And there were moments when I think I just cried. And I think I just cried because it was a lot to take in, because I wasn't expecting to be sick and I had not heard anything. And I don't even want to say sick, but I wasn't expecting things to be going on in my body that I had no idea. So I felt betrayed
mhm,
by my body to a certain degree. And then, to had been in a relationship and someone kind of dismissing your pain or dismissing what you're really going through and saying, oh, yeah, well, my mama had fibroids. And it's just like, I didn't even say fibroids. They found 2 at my surgery, but that's not
yeah,
even what I'm talking about. Do you even know the
yeah,
condition that I'm referring to? And it's like when you're so mindful of other people and what they're going through, and as soon as you go through something and you're not able to receive that same type of support, or like, yo, what is this? It brings you back to the importance of community. I don't have to go overly explain how I'm feeling,
mhm,
what's going on with my endometriosis when I'm talking to somebody who could uh mutually understand and empathize, not show
right,
compassion, empathize with what I'm going through with a condition that's so complex and unique. Everybody
right,
can sit there and hold those conversations. And so I get the power of community that you just brought about in regards to your mental health and just navigating through endometriosis. So let's talk about this, because you just brought in the word community, right? So community and visibility. Black women feel pain too blog out there in these virtual streets, right?
hello,
Out there in
hello,
these virtual streets. Now you got this powerful platform that is pretty despite this ugly endometriosis condition,
ah,
right? How did sharing your story help you feel seen? And how can others find strength and visibility and community when advocating for their own health?
yeah, first and foremost, it is an absolute beautiful thing to advocate for yourself. I don't want anybody to ever feel like, oh, if I advocate for myself, I'm going to be seen because Black women, we get labeled as aggressive a lot. There's nothing aggressive or there's nothing mean or rude about advocating for yourself. It is a very beautiful thing because, as you've said, it's your body, it's your health, and it's your life, and you are important and you matter, and your life is worth something. So there's no need to wake up every day and just act like, well, I'm going to, suffer through the pain and, I'm going to go to this job and I'm going to give it my all. Slow down, take a break. It's okay to say I'm not okay and to not be okay and to go to your doctors and tell them A through Z and then give them bullet points on each A, B, and C of what's going on. Like there's literally there's nothing wrong with that. That's beautiful. Take pride in what you say and how you feel and your ability to stand up for yourself in a sense. Black women feel pain too. Obviously, I had already had endometriosis for 2 years before that idea even popped into my head of doing a blog. And when I first got the idea to do a blog, I was like, I don't want my face out there. I don't want to use my name. I don't want anybody to know that it's me. But that quickly changed with the thought process and going down of what I wanted Black women feel pain to be and how big I wanted eventually will become. So it took a lot for me to be open about my health and be so transparent about some of the things that I go through. I have a blog post that's out now and it's my story from start to end. And I detail those experiences of me being curled up on the fetal position in the bathroom floor in high school. It talks about those times where I'm throwing up and I have diarrhea at the same time. So I remember writing that and it took me a while to complete that blog post because it was really like the first time that I like took a step back, and was like, oh wow, Destiny, like you've really gone through it and you really sat there and act like you're fine. It's all right. This is normal. And it never was. So it was really a self-discovery for myself just as a blogger because I knew nothing about web designs or blogs or anything like that. And just self-discovery as a woman with endometriosis and just trying to navigate and figure it out.
I love that. And I think you're right. Like, even after my diagnosis, I was like, I want to have a business, but I'm not quite sure exactly what I wanted to be. Like they always say entrepreneurship is the way to go. And I'd always been, nah, I'd rather put in my time, get my dimes. And I was just like, okay, entrepreneurship, what should this look like? And was looking into real estate options and looking into all these different things. And then I was just like, Jovonnie, you have 2 health degrees, certification in health. You always loved health. Your health just took an absolute shift, a turn. And
Mhm.
now you need to heal and heal intentionally. And as I started to figure out how do I want to navigate life being diagnosed with endometriosis, it was like, I know I needed to make lifestyle changes. And so I started to be more intentional. Like I was already pescatarian. I started taking out the dairy, the gluten, like just realizing some of the things that people said are just not good for women's health, not good if you have endometriosis, polycystic ovary syndrome, because they found 2 fibroids, like small ones in my uterus during the time of surgery. I was like, okay, clearly I was feeding or doing something for fibroids to be, visible, showing up, present. And so I was just kind of like, okay, let me start shifting things and being more intentional. Once my mom started, she had like 2 months back to back in the emergency room. And she was watching like Jillian Berry, like people juicing and hair
Mhm.
oil and cancer. And she wanted to think about things to help my granddaddy with stuff. I was like, well, let me think about you. You think about your parents, let me think about you. Because you don't need to go back in the emergency room no more. Like we need to make some shifts happen. So I got the juicer, got the jars, got all the things, and we started juicing. We got like juice with the fours, and people really started picking up on it. Like they were really vibing with it. And before I was like, okay, I wanted to be a wellness empowerment thing because Black women are susceptible to so many different chronic conditions, whether it be unable to really handle distress in their life, their access to fresh fruits and vegetables, their
Mhm.
inability to really show up and prioritize their well-being because they're so focused on their family, their community, and everything else. Like they weren't their own priority. And so I was like, we got to start. Like it has to be about your well-being, whether it becomes financial, physical, emotional. Like we gotta prioritize us. And it became this movement for me. And so I called it Forward Vibrations because it was my vibes moving forward past getting this diagnosis. And it was like, it got to be a movement though. And so people are like, well, if you got a business, you need a podcast to promote, brand awareness. I was like, okay, but what I'm gonna talk about? And then I was like, girl, you better talk about these journeys of strength with all these people with endometriosis, adenomyosis, polycystic ovarian syndrome,
Mhm.
fibroid. It's what you just said. I was feeling all of these different emotions and I couldn't find anybody to relate to me, or I felt
Right.
alone. I started allowing that, mental health aspect to become poor. And I was like, not if you got episode after episode after episode of people coming up here telling you the real, the raw, and the truth about their journey and what they're doing to transfer their pain into pleasure and no longer a problem. Like, what are they doing to really have a good life? And if they're not having a good life, what are their next steps to try to implement? Because everybody's journey is not the same. So it's my healing, my journey. And it was like, get empowered, get inspired by this. And so it's like, yo, we got a whole hub of safe conversations for people just being real and raw with it. And right now
Yeah.
raw with it because I'm on my raw plant-based journey, but it didn't start off that way. But real and raw with their journeys of strength. And it really is a journey of strength. You said at the beginning of this episode, Destiny, that resilience is your one word. Resilience, it ain't pretty. Just like
Oh.
you said, endometriosis ain't pretty. Guess what resilience means? You don't give up. No
Yeah.
matter how hard it is, you don't give up. We've got so many guests on the podcast, so many people. Destiny told you so many things that she's already been through. In regards to your mental health, y'all just don't give up. Don't get up. Don't give up. Tap into that blog. Read. When your voices in your head are starting to tell you different things about yourself, about your life, or what you can't do, read some of those blog posts about Black women feel pain too. Destiny got them out there for a reason. When
She
you
sure
feeling like you
does.
need to turn up the volume in that voice in your head because you're not quite sure how you're gonna make it, or you just got this diagnosis and you don't even know you don't even know how to say endometriosis.
Right.
Put on the Empire Place Empire Live podcast and just run through a few episodes and start getting inspired, start getting empowered and figuring out how other people are doing it so you can figure it out for yourself. So if you're just now tuning in and you haven't already and you're watching on YouTube, y'all hit subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss the episode. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast distribution platform, y'all follow the podcast and leave a rating and help keep the mission moving forward because people need to know that we exist and our stories
Okay.
are here. We're visible. You see Destiny now. She ain't start off visible. We're visible and we're vocal with our journeys of strength. And we're only here because we want to be able to help you make this thing pretty because ain't nothing pretty about it. So you talked about Destiny educating young girls on menstrual health. You were like, I want to teach them what's not normal. I want them to know about their anatomy. I really want them to better understand life as a
Right.
female. So what are some of the key things you wish you would have known as a young girl, and how can parents or guardians start to have these important conversations with their daughters?
I wish I would have known everything. Like, tell me the anatomy and physiology, the structure and the function. Tell me what these organs are and what they do. Tell me what a period is, what it's supposed to be like. So, when I got a little bit older and I started to experience things of what it was not supposed to be like, I probably could have said something at a younger age of, hey, something isn't right over here. But yes, I have, actually have 2 events coming up that I get to speak with a bunch of, lovely young girls, which I'm so excited about, because
What, Destiny?
it's thanks. It's very important. Number 1, every young girl, young lady needs to know what their vagina is. You don't need to be ashamed to say vagina because that's what it is. And you need to be able to, number one, know the structures, know the functions, and then know what's normal, what's not normal. So when things arise that aren't normal, you have the confidence and you have the knowledge to go in front of a doctor or a parent or whomever and be able to articulate A, B, and C, all these bullet points of what needs to be discussed and looked into, or whatever, the outcome is when you go and talk to the primary care or your specialist doctor. Young girls need to understand the importance of knowing about their body and the structure and the function and what's not normal and what is normal. So when things do arise, they're able to feel confident in saying, no, that's not right. Like, I know that's not right. What are we going to do about that? I just think that sets up when it's instilled in them young, it sets them up for a better future when they get older, because then they should have that confidence in every aspect of their life to be able to stand up for themselves, regardless of what the situation is.
I love that, Destiny. What I love most about it, one, I already work with children already. But it made me think about one of my students who was in pain, and she follows my business Instagram account. And she's just like, Miss Ford, I was in pain, and all I could hear was you say, pain is not normal. Pain is not normal. And I told my auntie I didn't feel good, and I told her I was in pain. She was like, oh, you all right? You okay? You'll be all right. And I just kept saying, no, I'm not all right. I'm in pain. I'm in pain. And it ended up being a UTI and something else.
Mhm.
The doctor was saying, all these different things. And I was like, I'm just so glad that I could hear your voice in my head saying, pain is not normal. Pain is not normal. Because had I just said, okay, well, my auntie said I'll be fine, I would have sat here and had like an infection for I don't know how long. And now
Yeah,
I'm thinking about the things that I'm eating and drinking even more, even though I've seen you. And that's what I'm saying. Visibility again. Thank you for coming out from behind the computer screen.
I know, right?
Keyboard thing, Destiny. When you're visible and you're vocal, people hear you. And it doesn't have to be everybody, but the people
Right.
that need to hear you are going
Mhm.
to hear you eventually, and you're going to resonate with them, and they're going to be able to do something about that. And so I'm grateful that you're going to have this empowering conversation and an inspiring event of many to come with
Right.
these young girls, because they need to have these conversations. Something else you said that it made me think about was, I remember a guest came on. I want to say it was the Holistic Trap Mommy. I want to say it was Robin, but I'm not quite sure. That talked about the more that young girls know the real names of their anatomy, their body parts, and what's happening. I don't know if it was you, but the less chances there are to getting like sexually assaulted or molested. And so, like, the more you are aware of your body, your anatomy, and what's going on, and those conversations are being had, that awareness translates into not being able to be and taken advantage of because of that. I was like, girl, say
Mm.
less. That is powerful. You know what I mean? Like, I've never noticed that.
Mhm.
And I'm not quite sure if it was her, but somebody said it. I don't know who said it. Y'all watched all episodes and come back on this episode and let us know who really said that. Because it was stated, but I was like, dang. So when you talked about anatomy earlier to me, and you mentioned it again there about the body parts, that's a very interesting statistic that I love to hear, especially as a former health teacher, because we're not talking about these things in school, and we're not allowing students to really have a safe space in regards to these conversations. So I think that more period talks, period
Mhm.
parties, period panels with youth are definitely needed. They're already they're happening, but I think more people just need to put their own spin on it, because just because Destiny might be having one, yours is not going to look anything like mine if I have,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Or when I have one. Let's not say with, because we know we need these conversations to be had. Anybody can do them. Nobody can be you, though. And so
Right.
your unique flair is going to be your unique flair on what it is that you do within your community, with the people that you're able to touch and reach. So I love that you mentioned that. And I know that it starts at a younger age, because Destiny, I know a
Correct.
lot of us, if we would have known the things that wasn't normal, what should be happening, what's going on, then we won't sit here and normalize things that are not normal and let people that we trust who don't know any better
Correct.
try to tell us that
Correct.
these things are okay and not knowing. So let's talk about that role that mindset of self-advocacy. I just told you about my student who was advocating for herself in that pain and wouldn't let go, even though her Annie, as they say out here, told her she would be okay. How did cultivating a mindset of self-advocacy, despite the pain that you've been going through since middle school and challenges that you face, what tips do you have for other people who may feel just slightly hesitant, or maybe even afraid
Yeah.
to talk about their health?
So again, you don't have to be type A personality to stand up for yourself. If you feel yourself or you know that you're just a little bit more shy and reserved, there's literally nothing wrong with that. Just make sure that you have that person, that support person, and they know everything. Like don't hold anything back to them. Tell them, the ugly because it's ugly. Tell them the ugly and then bring them with you to these appointments. If you can't go into detail, or hey, you forgot about that one incident and we were outside at the park and you fell over, like bring them with you because that can be another layer of information that you're providing to these providers. And then also, if you need to take down notes, take notes. There's plenty of period apps. You can use your notes on the phone, or if you're like me and you like to write stuff down, write it down. July 31st at 7:51, I was having debilitating pain. And you have, hard copy proof that you can take with you to these appointments, or you can talk about it with whomever you're discussing it with. So having that support person with you, documenting and taking notes, and then just doing your due diligence about yourself and showing up and being there for yourself. So, which that means with being healthy. So, let's put down the sodas. Let's put down the processed foods and the red meats and the alcohols. And let's put nutrition and good things in our body. So, which will decrease these flare ups and this inflammation that is currently going on within, the bodies of these people with endometriosis.
Y'all heard it from Destiny before you heard it from me. Thank you, Destiny. I am all about it, y'all. Let's get in more of your fruits and vegetables so you can decrease the inflammation. A lot of times, the root causes of these conditions is
Mhm.
inflammation. Inflammation not only caused from foods, anti-inflammatory foods, but also how you don't eliminate your stress. And sometimes you have
Correct.
to manage your distress before you can eliminate it. But there needs to be a process. There needs to be an intention that you're going away from distressful things in your life and people in your life. So it's that distress, it's the food, it's you needing to make sure you're moving, because when you're moving, those hormones, endorphins are flowing. It helps your body say,
Correct.
hey, we moving towards healing. Let's keep the vibes going and flowing. So I love that you ended on that one, Destiny. So shout out. You already know how I am about that food. But I love that you said show up for yourself. Have a mindset of showing up for yourself, loving for yourself, and caring for yourself. If you love yourself and you care about yourself and you want to care for yourself, your
Right.
decisions around food, your decisions around distressful people, situation, things, and environments are going to shift and change for yourself. And
Mhm.
you're going to want to start moving, because once you start moving, you're going to feel good about the movement that
Right.
you're doing, and you want to do more of it. So when you start feeling good, keep moving in a good direction. Don't go back to what you're comfortable with and you're familiar with. So I definitely wanted to say that. I love that you talked about documenting your experiences and taking that information with you. Not even taking it with you to your healthcare professionals, but so you can see what you've been going through. Sometimes when you've gone through so many hard times and you start to really get up, go back and take a flashback of the days when you was worse off and you were lower than lower and where you are right now. And that sometimes just allows you to be a testimony for yourself to say, you know what, I'm doing a whole lot better than what I used to be doing. The
Right.
25-year-old Destiny doing better than the 26-year-old Destiny. I've gotten a little bit more handle on my life in regards to how I show up within my well-being, on how I love myself, how I care for myself, and how I know I deserve the good things in life, despite some of the things that I cannot control. So I love that. And then I also love that you said have a support person. If you can't find a support person, find a support system that's within communities. You hear Black Women Feel Pain Too has a community. We had Endo Care Collective has a community. Four Vibrations has a community. There's so many different communities. Find the community that aligns best with you and just get in there. get in there, start sharing, start letting people know what you need, and see how you vibe with the people in the space. And if it's not for you, guess what? There's other communities that continue on. And if you still don't feel it that way, create your
Start your
own,
own.
because you are
Yes.
worthy of having the community that you need. And somebody needs you just like you need
Right.
somebody else. So I like that. But going into what I said, documentary. Destini, talk to us about the documentary that you did, and how you kind of pretty much are using your voice and other people's voices to advocate change. So talk to us a little bit about the events, the documentary that you did, and then how individuals can start using their own voices to advocate for change, and what those steps can kind of look like to support others in the journey.
So I have a documentary out on YouTube called "It's Black Women Feel Pain Too" presents Unprescribed Prescription. And it is a quick, I think it's about 3 minutes. And it's a quick documentary. I have three different beautiful women who I have personal relationships with, and I will love them forever for being a part of this journey with me. They just talk about their lives with their specific condition. So I have one lady on there who talks about her journey with PCOS. I have another young lady on there. She talks about her life growing up with a teratoma cyst. And then I have another young lady on there who talks about her endometriosis journey. And each different story, it's so powerful because again, everybody has a different journey. And as you can see, each of them have three different conditions, and all three of those conditions manifest themselves differently. So it's really quick. It's not long, 3 minutes and some change of them, talking about what they go through. And specifically, the lady who has a teratoma cyst, she is also was a student athlete, paid in college, and she's still very much into fitness and then helping high school athletes and stuff. So check that out if you're a student or you have a child who is a student and they have some sort of condition or whatnot, because there are people out there who go through the same things that you go through that you can have, see what they're talking about, what their suggestions or recommendations are. And so when it comes to, being visible and having that courage to say something or to stand up, you kind of just have to do it. And that's really what it just comes down to, because I could have chose to continue to stay in pain and to know that I was in pain and knowing that I was going to continue to deal with this pain, but I made a conscious choice of trying to figure out what was going on and also making that conscious choice of changing things within my life that I was doing that causes, the inflammation that was going on in my body. So you just have to do it. You have to get to a point of, number one, this isn't normal. I want answers and I'm also going to do something about it. So you kind of have to be ready. Not everybody is ready to figure out answers. Some people will prefer just to sulk and sit and be in pain and live their life how they want to live their life, and that's their choice. That is their choice. But you just have to be ready and prepared just to show up and be there and do something and be active about your life, your health, and being conscious and making conscious decisions.
I love that. And I appreciate you for sharing it, because it is your choice. It is
Right.
your choice to just stay stuck, stay where you are, or just say, yes, I have this condition. I'll just do whatever the doctor tell me to do without doing
Mhm.
research, without figuring out, are there other options? Are there other options that doesn't have an effect on my body? Because clearly if I'm, taking different medications and things that are not necessarily natural or in its natural state, what is that now doing to other parts of my body and the systems in my body and my health? I love the thought process of a health span versus a lifespan. You can live a long life. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're living a healthy life and you're able to show up as your best self every single day that you live in order to have that health span versus a lifespan. Um, I love that you took the opportunity to create a documentary, and create that content in that type of way and have those three different perspectives, and allowing that to be Black women feel pain to a vibe. And so when you told me you had that documentary, I was like, oh, that sounds so dope. Because I had thought about it before, doing a documentary, but I kind of wanted to do like a documentary of people all over the world and what it looked
Mhm.
like, in different places. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not global yet to
Right, yeah.
moving around, but the podcast is my beautiful place to create content and have it drop weekly for people to be able to understand and hear these stories and voices. And so being able to see someone take that documentary approach, it was like beautiful. I was like, okay, Destiny with the documentary. And then I had no idea, because I don't think you told me about the lady that was an athlete and what she's doing to helping other girls. And we started this conversation with
Mhm.
you being an athlete in high school, and now we're ending it. Come on with the little full spectrum, come all the way around with it, for more resources and opportunities for you to check out content and people in regards to student athletes experiencing painful periods and different conditions, and how you still want to play the game but live your life too. So Destiny, we're gonna get into the last two questions, and
Okay.
then we'll wrap up the episode. So give some advice to the girl dads, the male role models, father figures, as well as spouses and partners of people who are
Mhm.
experiencing endometriosis like symptoms, because sometimes we don't have a diagnosis. So
Right.
all the ugly things that ain't pretty about endometriosis, polycystic ovary syndrome, fibroids, adenomyosis. Give some tips for them and how they can show up and be a supportive vibe, and be a part of this experience.
Yeah, I love that question. That's also another blog that I have on my blog post of how you can be a support person to somebody with endometriosis, because that's very important if you have close relationships. Those people that you have close relationships with, they should be able to understand and listen to you, sympathize with you. If they can't empathize with you, they should be able to sympathize with you. And they also should be able or want to understand and know what they can do within their role within your life in order to show up when it matters. So I love that question because I think that question is very important. So I'll talk about the spouse and partner side first. Um, Being there in the ugly moments is great. Whether your person is laid up. My favorite position is the fetal position. That's what you'll find me in the corner sometime in the fetal position. Sit right there beside them if they're curled up, rub their back for a quick second. When they get up, they might be a little hungry. If they're having their moment, go prepare some water, some tea, something, just to make it a little less stressful for them whenever they do come out of that moment. So just being there during the ugly moments, and also just being conscious, because with pain that does make people ugly sometime, and that makes them in a bad mood sometime. So just being conscious, oh, I know she's dealing with X, Y, and Z because she's already told me this. Let me not take what she just said personally, because I know it's the pain talking. So just being conscious of the other person's pain and condition, and knowing that just because they did something ugly, it doesn't justify it. If you're ugly, let's hold ourselves accountable too and apologize for our actions. But in that moment, let's just not exacerbate the ugliness, and let's just take a moment, and we'll circle back around to it when things are good and calm. And then just acts of service. you know, if I'm on my period and I can't move, bring me my food in bed, come in here and watch a little movie with me or something. Just do something to take that stress away. And that's the biggest role, is just being support. That's really what you're there for. And support is gonna look different from everybody, whether somebody wants you to do something for them, or they don't want you to do something for them, or they just want you there. Sometimes, even if you can't empathize with a person, just having somebody there to vent to and talk to is good enough. Because sometimes when I'm in pain, I just wanna talk to somebody about it. I don't really need you to do anything. I just listen to me. That's really about it. Now, if you are a male and you have a lovely young lady or a lovely young daughter around you, and you're like primary caretaker or whatever the situation is, number one, it is important, and something I also talk about. Men and women both need to know about endometriosis. So when I have events, I invite men and women because both need to know about it. Both, in my opinions, we need to know the anatomy and physiology of both genitalia, male and female. I mean, we should just it's the body, we should all know it. So I think it's important, number 1, for males to be knowledgeable. You don't have to be an expert, but just know general basic terminology, general basic conditions and how those things, manifest themselves and what things are abnormal versus normal. I just think just regular general basic knowledge is a starting point because if a dad has a daughter and she comes up to you and say, "Oh, my side over here is hurting." Let's not say, "Oh, your rib is hurting," when it's really like her pelvis is her ovaries, her fallopian tube. Like, let's just have some general knowledge. That's step number 1. And then number 2, if you're going to be that male, which is perfectly fine, you don't want to talk about that stuff. Make sure there's some sort of, I can't say make sure because everybody's situation is different, but try and find a resource or a group or a community outlet and take that child to those peoples, those groups, those whatever it may be, so she can be around experience and then eventually feel comfortable to open up and be like, "Hey, these are the things that, I'm going through." So just having those options are right there, or looking into those options right there of trying to find a resource for her.
I love it. Thank you. That was awesome. That was really good, Destiny. I think people could really get something out of those tips and suggestions. I heard a lot of mindfulness. I heard a lot of just be there. One
Mhm.
thing that really showed up for me, that people sometimes don't always do. Don't be dismissive. Don't be combative. If they say it is what they say it is, and how they feel is what they feel, it's not for you to validate. So hear, show up, or leave and give them the space that they need.
Mhm.
So those are just kind of some of the things that kind of resonated with me as you were talking, based on like my experience or what I've heard other people say. Um, because at that particular point in time, if they are considering you a supportive person or somebody that they trust or somebody that they think really cares about them, the worst thing you can do in that moment is to go against them and not
Right.
just align and yield with them, or just give them that space if you can't be that person they need in that moment. I think that's powerful too. Um, Last question. If you could have a meal with any historical figure, who would it be and what would y'all eat?
Historical, so elaborate on what you mean by
Nah,
historical
it's up to
person.
you. It's all on you. My granddaddy, one time he said it was my grandma, another time he said it was me, and he just came up with something to eat. So it's up to you. It could be historical, it could be historical. It's all up to you.
Mm. Is there really anybody that I wanna meet? Of course there is, but who is it? Um, you know, I would have loved to sit down and had a meal with, Cicely Tyson.
Okay, okay. Why
Mhm.
Sicily? And then what y'all gonna eat?
What are we gonna eat? Okay, so she's very much giving me like true black soul food, and I'm plant-based, so I don't eat meat.
Me either. So come on, come on. My cheeks are already watering. So let's go.
So, but I do turkey every blue moon. Let's see, what are we doing? I'm feeling barbecue.
Okay.
I'm feeling barbecue. I'm feeling deep South good barbecue with a sugary ass Kool-Aid is what I'm feeling. And
Okay.
that's probably not the vibes for Sicily, but we're gonna eat on like a homegirl, you know me, I know you. Let's just go grab a quick eat type of vibe. That's in my head, that's what I'm picturing. And then
Okay.
we bring the food back to a mutual place and we eat and we talk.
I love this. Okay. I'm with
Yeah.
it. Now you got
Yeah.
me like, I need to go in there and get some type of watermelon juice because that Kool-Aid got me on it too. Like I'm just like, all right. And I was just thinking like barbecue sauce. And we were just talking, I think we were talking about this I don't know. This week in my class, and I think I was asking them like, no, it was the week before last, and I was like, ham or turkey, and I was like, ooh, and it was thinking about it, and I was like, I think it was the ham for me,
Mm.
ham, and I said, but with that turkey, if it was a barbecue turkey though, and you just brought on turkey and barbecue, so it just got my mind going, but.
People sleep on barbecue turkey.
And I
They
mean, and
do.
they do fry the turkey, but I do believe they sleep on the barbecue turkey. But
They do.
Destiny, it has been an absolute amazing and pleasure having you on the Empowered Place, Empowered Lives podcast. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Yes, 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 yes. First and foremost, visit the website, www.blackwomenfeelpain2.com. While you are there, feel free to purchase your own merchandise. You can find Black Women Feel Pain 2 on Pinterest, TikTok, and Instagram at Black Women Feel Pain 2. I do have a Facebook group solely for women who want to join and be a support and a resource to other women with whatever medical condition. So there is a Black Women Feel Pain 2 Facebook group. You just literally have to type in Black Women Feel Pain 2 and then just ask to join the group. And then YouTube, I am on YouTube as myself at Destini.Marie, period. There I have a couple of videos up, the documentary that they can view. And that is all of my social media. First and foremost, the website, though. Go check out the website.
Gotcha. And then once you go check it out, come back on
Subscribe.
this episode and say, y'all, I done checked out the episode. Or subscribe to our YouTube channel and be like, I saw the episode on the Empowered Place, Empowered Lives podcast. I pulled up to see the documentary, Destiny. So make sure y'all share some love. Subscribe to both channels on YouTube and then let us know you here. So don't forget to comment. Give us your takeaway. Give us something that stood out. Something you would have talked about, or what you would like to see from us next. And you can definitely go to 4vibrations.com, get some merch, but you also get some painful period products, hot water bottles. You can get some resistance bands for your well-being and get your movement going. So there's a lot of different products out there. Like my healing, my journey Tumblr. I love it, girl. And then you should just feel the wording on it. But remember, it's my healing, my journey. Despite what me and Destiny have done and tried to do and have been doing on our own journey, it is your journey. Make it yours, own it, take power over it, and go out there and do something your future self is going to thank you for, because you deserve nothing less. Y'all, in the description of the video is also a 8-week empowered healing empowerment journal. Go through that journey for yourself for 8 weeks. See how you show up for yourself every single day. Look at your habits. What is it that you want to change? What do you want to add to it? What do you want to take away? But go on an 8-week journey with yourself using this journal just to see who you are in regards to the different aspects of life when it comes to your mindset, your mindful eating, your movement, and what you do on a daily basis. Yeah, it's your healthy habits and lifestyle coach, Jovonnie. Again, I help those with endometriosis and polycystic ovarian syndrome reduce that chronic pain, because the pain be paining and it ain't pretty. Eliminate that distress, because it causes a whole lot more issues than you think when you have distressful people, things in your life. And sometimes you need help on how to manage that, because you're so used to dealing with it on a regular day basis. You don't even realize that you're dealing with a lot of distress. And then help you with regulating that period. Eating more fruits and vegetables. You might not want to be plant-based, but there's so many different foods that you can get out of your consumption and embrace so many foods that you already like and love, and have more of those things to help your body flourish. So yeah, it's the My Healing, My Journey coaching program. Tap in, let's vibe. I want to help guide you through that journey, but it's all about you. So let's go. Y'all, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. We love you. We thank you. But most importantly, thanks for vibing with us, y'all.
Yes.